Feedback on assignments, projects, and responding to emails should be done ASAP, as quickly as possible. This gives the student the possibility to answer, to modify and improve their work as well. I usually don't wait more than, for some students that actually do their assignment the same day that it opens, I'll give them a grade and a feedback the same day, and if I see the email, it takes very little to, they know that you're there and that you're actually caring, you know, for their work.
Absolutely, timely feedback is important. And that's something sometimes I struggle with because I'm trying to give them so much details, but it is extremely important that they get feedback just about immediately after they have turned in their assignments. Because of the nature of computer programming, each student makes, you know, they perform differently and their mistakes are different. Sometimes their mistakes are logical, they may be syntactical, so it's very difficult for me to use boilerplate feedback. I have to give them individual feedback because programming is like customizing every step, and each student does it differently, so I have to give specific feedback to each student.
I find that using the regular feedback box and the criteria box are helpful together. So if a student has done really well on the assignment, I'll tend to just shoot to that general feedback box. But if a student really needs to, if they've really kind of gone in the wrong direction with some of the directions of the assignment, it's really imperative to let the student know where and how to improve on that. You just will hear a lot of times, I got this wrong, but I don't know why. And so that's where those boxes are really helpful.
Well, again, one of those common issues is some students don't read all the feedback, that's, you know, especially embedded feedback. So sometimes, and what's great about Falcon Online is you can see when they've read it or if they've read it. So I kind of also take a glance at that as I'm reviewing assignments, and I will email the students as well and say, please see your feedback for revision and tell them when the revision is due. So that's one of the things that, you know, feedback only works if they actually see it. Good advice for having assignments in Falcon Online is to also provide a template or some kind of outline or graphic organizer for students that matches the grading rubric. And the directions are very explicit, and then you take the verbiage of those directions and that's what you put in your template. So students understand, you know, why were points deducted or why did I not meet certain areas of this assignment.
I think media is a great way to use for feedback. For example, I use the audio recording to give feedback on how to pronounce a word, especially in foreign languages. Let's say a student says bonjour instead of bonjour, then I will say in the audio recording, oh, it is, by the way, you should say bonjour without the N in it and not bonjour. So that's how I use it.
I do find that media is helpful for students, especially in mathematics. It's very hard to state in math what is right and what is wrong. Sometimes they really need to see the full process. So if it's a simple error, sometimes I can quickly say in text, oh, make sure that you recognize that the domain should not include the endpoint of 0. Because if it's a small mistake, then they have the general concept and I just need to make one small correction. But if I find that they're solving an equation totally wrong, for instance, they are dividing by sine of x and they're losing the value of x as they're dividing, they're losing a possible solution, there are some major mistakes happening at that point. So using media allows me to explain the error as well as go in depth in terms of how to solve a particular problem so they can see it demonstrated from beginning to end.
I'm extremely flexible with the Turnitin. It's important that when there is a surplus of 30% in source use, then you delve into the system. You look at the sources that were used. I usually give a good feedback on what sources not to use as well. They're not complementary to professional sources like Wikipedia and things like that. I tell them to avoid. By giving a good feedback on the sources that they use, especially if they go over the 30%, has had a noticeable increase in passing rates in a course that is a written course, and they need to get a C at least in that. So explaining how Turnitin works is, I think, the most proficient things that you can do for students. I had very little problems with these. Once again, flexible. It's a 3-day window that they have. I also allowed them to send me emails with drafts before they drop it in the box. You know, I can give a lot of information regarding the quality of the essay and the source use. But I haven't had problems by using this technique.
So for example, sometimes I'll have students who English is not their first language, and so they don't fully grasp the concept of plagiarism and how Turnitin.com can be helpful, not only finding that, but can allow me to see that they need more help in understanding the basics of what's an original work and what needs to be cited and what needs to be, where credit needs to be given.